everybody. My name is Dani with Realistic Intentionality, and I'm here to talk about people pleasing, seeking outside validation, and kind of just healing the relationship of feeling the need and the desperation for people's approval or their affection, right? And I've honestly haven't made a video on this channel that isn't my podcast in weeks because I have been actively working on this. And I feel like now I finally have gathered the thoughts to let you guys know the ways that I have healed that within myself. So maybe it can help some of you guys who struggle with the same problem. So let's get into it. First off, a big thing that helped me start this healing journey is recognizing where it was all rooted from. So I thought back to when I really can remember a lot of people pleasing type behaviors and also just seeking validation. And I know for a fact that when I started dating and getting into relationships, I was really seeking for an affection and validation through the relationships. And I started dating in middle school. So I'm like, okay, clearly it goes that far. But then I even think in elementary school how I would have crushes on all these people in my class, and it was never reciprocated. I'm gonna be real, it was never reciprocated in elementary school. And I remember really chasing that and feeling a lot of rejection in that regard. And so I realized, even as young as elementary school, I was really chasing affection and validation from people that obviously weren't reciprocating or even showing it to me in the first place. And I realized as a child that is most likely rooted to my family dynamics. And it all, the pieces clicked, right? My mother and my father, they're both not overly affectionate type parents. And it's not that I resent them for that. It's more of just that's the truth. They weren't necessarily super affectionate people. My mom had a hard time showing affection in general, once we started getting older. And then my dad, he worked a lot. He wasn't around. Once they got divorced and split, I only saw him for some weekends, and then he actually moved out of country. So in my elementary to middle school days, I was really deprived any parental affection and love and emotional intimacy with my parents. And so I can recognize that there is an innate need in humans to feel validated, to feel that affection. And I was deprived it from my parents. And that is a huge root. And so for me to understand that it came from that. And not to, again, I'm not angry, I'm not resentful. That's just how the cards played out. That's how they are or were in that moment as people. And they were young parents. This was all our first time existing to what we know. I'm not gonna be angry and bitter about it. It's just the fact of the matter, I didn't receive the affection and love that I needed as a kid. And so I started seeking it outwardly with relationships and friendships. And I even remember I would be in school, and if I did something and got in trouble, I would just feel my stomach sink, and my throat would close up. And anytime I got in trouble or any form of social rejection, I would just be pitted from it. And now I understand that it's because I was so seeking of it. I was so after it that when I got the opposite of affection and validation, when I would get rejection, it destroyed me. And so I developed a fear of rejection as well as this desperate need for affection, which of course the two are just diabolical together, because I was chasing affection, which means they weren't giving me affection or validation to begin with. So then they would reject me, whether romantically or in friendship or even in social situations. If I would make a suggestion and it gets slapped down, I would feel it so heavily. Part of my healing is just understanding that. I figured out when it started, I traced it back, and I figured out a reason why I might have this behavior. And just in knowing that, it's kind of opening a wound. It hurts. It's oh man, having to address the fact I didn't get the proper affection as a kid. Like, that's a hard thing to deal with. But it's also a huge relief that's like, okay, I can understand why I am this way. And now I can move on to the next steps in healing. Secondly, is really doing exercises that are catered for people with the same issue as me. So, obviously, my issue was not a lot of attention and affection from my parents. And there's books and journals and meditations and affirmations and exercises all online. Like, luckily, we are in an era of information. All these resources are online for me to use. So I've been able to kind of read and figure out how to heal that inner child that was overlooked or rejected, healing that within myself so that I can try to get a better understanding of the behaviors that have came from that, the people pleasing, desperate for affection and validation and connection, and the constantly allowing people to treat me badly, to try to earn their love. I now know those behaviors are linked to it. And I can read these books and these exercises about how, like, recognize you should not have to work for love. You should not have to work for validation. Should be people in relationships that accept you for how you are, and those are the relationships you want to put energy into because it's reciprocal, it's mutual. Really processing all of these symptoms of that core issue we had identified, and then just using the endless amount of resources that we have in our books and online to work on that specifically has been so major. And it's really healing. And that brings me to number 3, which is embodying the exercises to heal that wound. So every day I'm reminding myself I do not chase. I'm not desperate for love and validation. If I love myself, that is enough. And I've been reading like quotes, and there's this one quote that said, imagine if a snake bit you and injected its venom. Instead of trying to heal and get the venom out, you chase the snake and try to explain to it why you didn't deserve to be bitten and to understand its actions is crazy. And that's what I was doing. People were hurting me. They were rejecting me. They weren't reciprocating the energy I was putting into the relationship. And I would chase them and I'd be like, I don't deserve this. I've done everything for you. Like, I've only been good for you. Why would you treat me like this? Why are you doing this? And it's like, no, they're a snake. They are a snake. I need to let them exist. If they want to figure out how to treat me properly, they will figure it out without me breadcrumbing them the instructions, and they will come to me with an apology and change behavior. And if not, I can't force it. And if I force it, I'm also always going to be wondering if this person would have ever actually done the changes if they weren't being forced or chased or harassed by me blatantly, like, honestly. And so by like learning these quotes and then like embodying it every day, I'm like, I will not chase snakes. I will not chase snakes. I will not chase snakes. And I can actively feel a weight lifted off of me because I'm not spending all this like mental and emotional energy trying to get people to show their love to me or to show their acceptance or for them to treat me the way I want to be treated. Instead, I am focusing on the people who do that without me having to force them to, without me trying to chase it. There are people in this world that will treat you the way you deserve to be treated because they want to, because they value you, because they love you. And you shouldn't be chasing the people that you feel like you deserve the love from. You always deserve love. And if they're not showing it to you now, they're not going to show it to you when you force them to. They have to learn it in their own time. So really walking with that energy of like, I'm not chasing my parents' love in every snake I see. Crazy. Like, so profound, so amazing. I'm so grateful for that quote specifically because that really like that really nailed it in. Number four, I've been really actively making content and journaling about it. Not only does it make me feel good that I can put this information out for other people that then can use it for their own healing, and that makes me feel good and that heals me. It's also just reaffirming in my head, like through my journaling, through my videos, through my content, like this is a lesson I'm learning. I'm making it public. I'm accountable. I am not going to do this anymore. Like, this is something I am closing. I'm not going to continuously repeat this lesson. It is done. I understand. And that is where we're at today, where I'm making this video, where it's like, I am now recognizing that so much of my life has been affected by this core wound and issue, that now I can like begin to live a life in a whole new lens, like a whole new filtering, because this programming wasn't serving me and now I'm actively getting rid of it. So before we end this video, I do want to talk about some ways that these behaviors have affected my life as a greater sense, just so if you are also struggling with the issue, you can kind of recognize where maybe it's affecting you in similar ways. So let's get into it. The greater issue was not enough affection from my parents that caused me to seek validation, which also caused me to people please and chase relationships and chase snakes of people that, you know, I felt like I needed to earn their love. Those behaviors consequently made me suppress who I really truly was, because I was so worried about them liking me that I wasn't really being myself. It's made me fear rejection, so I wouldn't put myself out there. I wouldn't be vulnerable because I felt like I couldn't show my true hand or my true intentions because I didn't want that hurt or that rejection. It also forced me to be in a lot of toxic relationships for a lot longer than I should have. I actually just ended, and I've talked about this on the pod and like on my blog so many times, but I recently got out of a 10-year really negative toxic relationship. It's just like crazy that I allowed that behavior because I constantly was chasing the snake. I was constantly like saying like, I don't deserve this. Why are you treating me like that? And they'd be like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I've learned. And then they do it again. And they do it again. And they did it again for 10 years. And I allowed it to happen over and over and over. I'm now closing the door on toxic relationships of any kind that relate to that wound, where it's like I can tell they aren't offering me the respect and the love and the acceptance and the validation that I deserve. So I'm just not going to put any energy there anymore. I'm not going to chase them. I'm not going to try to convince them to treat me right. If they will treat me right in the future, that's on them to prove. And also, it made me feel unworthy of the love from myself and others, because I thought about how I didn't get the affection from my parents or the affection from all these people that were, you know, snakes, and like all the rejection. I truly inside felt unworthy. Like, obviously there's something wrong with me that I wasn't receiving that affection and love. And then that turned into like a whole being issue where it's like I struggled with self-love, and that made me, you know, have self-esteem issues and negative self-talk and negative beliefs that then affected everything. So it's like this one core issue in childhood trickled into behaviors that trickled back down to patterns that then affected my entire being. And that's why it's so important to, when you realize you might have an issue with something, trace it back, find the root cause, and really work to heal it, because it does affect so much more than you can possibly know. Like, I know it probably affects more than what I've even listed in this video, which is a lot. And so I do highly recommend doing something similar to what I did, and your own means and your own intuition. For me, I had to think back to when the issue first occurred, traced it back, figure out the core wound, then find the ways that it affected my behaviors, find the healing for those behaviors in books and media and online and exercises and all that. Then I enacted it on a daily basis, and I declared it very publicly, and I'm actively advocating for others to heal the same. That is my healing journey that has occurred the past few weeks. And yeah, it's going well. So guys, I hope you got something out of this video. I hope you like this new setup. I tried some different lighting and different camera, so we're gonna see how it turns out. But you deserve love. You deserve validation. You deserve acceptance without having to chase the snake. Got it? Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here. Bye.